Hi guys, welcome to another episode of AJAWI TV where we discuss architectural and construction related topics. I'm AJAWI and for today we'll be talking about roofs, right? Different types of roof. In particular, we'll be talking about concrete roof versus timber frame roof, right? We want to know which is cheaper, what are the pros and cons between both of them, right? So at the end of this series, we want to disclose whether timber frame roofs is cheaper than concrete roof. All right. So without any further ado, let's get into this video. Alright guys, so I have indicated before that I would be interested to know whether concrete roofs are actually cheaper than timber frame roofs, right? So that's our little investigation that we're carrying out to really obtain that information. Alright, so in this video we'll be looking at the pros and cons between timber frame roof and concrete roofs, right? So I came up with a list, right? Here, and I'm going to be basically calling them out and discussing them accordingly. All right. So the first category, I'm gonna call them category, right? The first category that we'll be looking at is heat, right? As it relates to the sun and the tropics. As you know, we're in Jamaica and we're in the tropical environment, so heat is a very key factor when selecting the different type of roofs that are available. All right, so timber frame roofs normally has, timber is a timber framing as it suggests, and then it is normally finished with either aluminum sheets, clay tiles, what else, shingles, etc. So you know that there are different types of finishes, and it's not normally you would have different layers. So you have a waterproofing layer, you have sarking layer, you have rafters, you have purlins, etc. Depends on different types of rafters, different type of ridge board. Well, you have ridge board, valley rafters, etc. Depending on the design of the roof itself, these members will be taken into consideration, right? So as for concrete roof, you know that it's straight concrete, steel, reinforced concrete, right? So in my view, I think concrete roofs are hotter than timber frame roofs, simply for the fact that concrete actually absorbs heat, right? It absorbs heat. But here's the thing, when I think about it, like I've been in buildings where you have a timber frame structure, and because of the height, right, that actually plays a major factor. The height of your roof, how high up the roof is, actually plays a major factor in the heat, right? So I've been in houses where the timber frame roof is really low and it's unbearable. And on the same time you have like concrete roofs and it's very hot, right? So I think the thing with concrete roof is that it absorbs the heat, right? And whenever it comes down to nighttime, it actually releases the heat inside the building. So that's what makes concrete roofs so hot. right? As it relates to timber roof, yes, they are hot, but if it is that it is high, you won't really feel that heat because there's a layer, there's a thermal layer, wood that is underneath it usually, you know, reduce that heat, but it's still hot, you know. It's just that it's not being transferred as much as the concrete roof would be transferring. All right, so I give it to concrete roof. I think concrete roofs are hotter, generally hotter, and a fix that you can possibly do is to create a thermal layer to basically prevent it from absorbing that heat, right? So what you can do is put down a layer of foam on top of your roof, and then let us say cast over that. So you put down your 16 slab, then you put down a layer of foam, and then you finish over that foam, right? Freeform Factory actually has foam that you can, you know, acquire. So that's somewhere where you can get that. All right. So I'm gonna put a tick for concrete roofs being hotter, right? Or should I put an X? I think I'll put an X, right? So, and then put the tick at timber frame roofs. So timber frame roofs are cooler in the sense that the higher up they are, the higher the pitch of the roof, the less heat or less heat you would feel because it's so high up from off the body. Also, the wider the overhang, right? So the wider the overhang of the structure, the cooler the building will be because they are now shading the walls, right? So the roof itself has its thermal layer, and then you're actually creating a wider overhang so that the sun doesn't penetrate and come into the structure, right? Whereas the concrete roof is absorbing heat for the total surface area, and that heat is then released inside the building at night, right? So you'll be a little bit more uncomfortable, right? Now, the next category that I put is in the comparison is ease of construction, right? When I say ease of construction, I mean how easy it is to construct either of these roofs. What's the turnaround time? And I believe concrete roof is easier to construct than timber frame roofs. In the sense that I think once you have somebody put up the steel, lay the steel and pour it, you know, that should be pretty much it. Meanwhile, with timber frame roofs, it takes a little bit more effort because you have to ensure that the plumb cuts are right. You have to ensure that the angle of the roof is properly set. You also have to ensure that every rafter has, you know, hurricane straps so that, you know, it is protected. It has to have the different layers that has to go on and stuff like that, which does take a little bit of effort in doing. On the other hand, the concrete roof now, once you set up the formwork, put on your steel, tie up your steel, right, and you'll get a truck to come and pour concrete, you're pretty much done. In my view, that's really how I feel about that. So understanding that is very important. I think concrete roof is easier to construct, right? Let's see. So I'm gonna put as it relates to ease of construction, I'm gonna put an X beside the timber frame roof because I think it's kind of a little bit more difficult to install than a concrete roof, right? And then I'm gonna put a tick at the concrete, right? So it's 1 for 1 so far. All right, so the next one is limitation as it relates to design. Now this is where timber frame roofs is where I say going to dominate, because really and truly timber roofs has more options as it relates to how it can slope, the design itself, whereas with concrete roofs is normally at a certain angle, probably a 1%, and it's usually flat. It's usually a flat roof, right? Not much, except if you're doing like a parapet, and that's pretty much it. You don't really want to be doing much sloping with your concrete roof. I mean, there are special cases, but not in the residential realm. Um, Most of the times when people are doing construction for their residents, they're not going to be thinking about, this fancy things with concrete roof. They just want a straightforward flat concrete roof where them can probably put a tank on top of it and forget about it. Alright? So as it relates to ease in design or limitations as it relates to design, I think concrete roof is very limited. Alright, so that's a X for concrete and a tick for timber roofs. So timber roofs, as it relates to design, there are a lot more options than concrete roofs, right? Safety and hurricane. Safety. Concrete roof, I gotta take it there. The thing is that because concrete is such a material that is high in compression, it resists compression a lot, and the strike force that you can utilize against a concrete surface versus a timber frame surface is night and day, right? It takes more effort to demolish a concrete roof than it would take to demolish a timber frame roof, right? So overall, I think concrete roofs are safer, in my view, than timber frame roofs. Now, here's the thing. When it comes down to a hurricane, the reality is, if you're in your concrete frame roofs, your concrete roof, or you're under your concrete roof, right? In your house and your roof is concrete, you're not worried about the roof. You're not even think the thought of the roof is not in your head, right? Because in your mind you're safe, you're good, because that concrete not going anywhere. As it relates to timber roof, the least little sound you hear, I think, geez, I wonder if the roof will go fly off, right? And based on history, Gilbert, when the roof them fly off upon people, hurricane straps are more utilized now. So that is another aspect or another item that helps to increase the durability of timber frame roofs. But again, you can't compare timber frame roof as it relates to safety with concrete roof, because concrete roof is going to beat it hands down, right? So within a hurricane, nobody not thinking about the roof as long as it is concrete. If it is that if you have a timber frame roof, then you're gonna wonder if the zinc will come off, or if something will drop in at the roof and rain, right? So that's another. So let me put a tick for concrete as it relates to safety, and put an X for timber frame. So far, let's see, I have 2 tick for concrete roof, 2 tick for timber roof. So it's tie so far, right? Alright, so aesthetics. How does it look? Because as I said before, there are limitations with the concrete roofs. It does affect aesthetics in the residential construction or residential home. I'm talking, because if you're looking at like other types of typology, like say you're doing a civic building or a hotel or something like that, you can design, you can have a concrete roofs that looks good because the budget is higher, but we're talking about residential use. So therefore, people within the residential realm, they're not thinking about, hey, you know, want it to look this way, and we're not worried about the budget. In most cases, is the budget drives, you know, the design in for residential construction. They're trying to get it cheap, especially in Jamaica, right? But once there's somebody who, you know, is not necessarily concerned about the budget as much, because they are always concerned about the budget, it becomes a situation where they can afford to do the fancy dances with the concrete. Alright? So aesthetically, I'll give both of them, because it goes both ways. You can have a concrete roof on a structure and you deal with it in such a way where it looks really nice. The design is really nice. And the same thing goes for timber frame structure. You can have a building and you just design the roof to look really nice. So I don't think either of them really should be given a con as it relates to aesthetic, because it's really about the design. But there's a saying in architecture, right? If you can't figure it out, slab it. So you'll find that whenever people are drawing and they don't necessarily know what to do with the roof, they just put on a slab on it and call it a day, because they don't want to really have much thought in the process. Alright, so both of them get a tick in this case. Vulnerability. I think timber frame roofs are much more vulnerable than concrete roofs. Concrete roofs are very durable, right? So there is not a lot of things that can possibly damage the concrete roof, unless the mix is not good. Then it might fail because of rusting steel or exposed steel and stuff like that. But timber frame roofs are very vulnerable as it relates to termite. If it's not treated, if the proper treatment is not done to the site, then timber is vulnerable to termites, so that becomes a problem. And also moisture, right? That's a factor. You don't want to have moisture gathering in your timber roof, because then that would be a recipe for disaster. So I think concrete would get the tick here, because concrete is more durable, or has less chances of being attacked than the timber frame roof, right? Because you can buy a house and you have to change the entire roof because it's a timber roof, and the board them in a rotten out, or the termite has infested the roof, so it becomes a problem. Also mold. Timber frame roofs are attacked by mold very easily, right? Simply because in Jamaica we don't do building maintenance as much. So we build the house from 1902, and within 2020 we probably maintain it probably one or two times, or we paint it every 5 years. But we don't necessarily really look into proper maintenance of structures. So like washing your roof is not something that is done in Jamaica, but that would actually help to fight against like mold and stuff like that, right? So I'm gonna give it to concrete roof, because it can stand up against attack from external. That's it. All right. So the next category is leaking, or fixing leaks right? I think, in my opinion, timber roofs are kind of, I'd say, easier to fix if you can find where it is leaking from, right? So if you find where it is leaking from, then you can possibly fix it. But if you can't find where it is leaking from, that's where the difficulty comes in, and it actually causes more damage than the concrete roof, right? In the sense that, well, both do cause damages, because if you have a leaking slab roof, then the steel within the concrete is being exposed to minerals, and that can cause it to corrode or oxidize. So in both instances, there are issues as it relates to fixing leaking, but I think timber frame roof is easier to fix, because you can just take up the sheets, find out where it is leaking from, put down a layer of damp-proof membrane or waterproofing membrane over it, and then you're good to go. Whereas the concrete roof now, if it is leaking, you'd have to actually tar the area, which can be considered as easier. It's a matter of opinion, I guess. And in my opinion, I think timber frame roof is easier, because here's the thing. I've had people ask me how do they fix timber roofs, because over the years they have tried to fix it and it has not been fixed, and people are coming and doing it, fixing it every minute, and it's still a leak, and them fed up and them have to go demolish the concrete roof. That's the stress with it. Whereas with a timber frame roof, if you're fixing it and it never fixed before, all you do, you go up there, you remove the sheets and put on a layer of they call it damp proof membrane or waterproofing membrane, and then put on back your sheeting, which, you know, that would fix the problem. But if it is that you know how to fix a concrete slab roof, then, you know, that would make it that much easier. The proper way to fix a concrete roof is to actually power wash it, pressure wash the roof, right? You're gonna look where once you clean it, you're gonna look where the slab is either damaged, cracked, or porous, right? By looking on the inside to see where water is running or where water is coming through the slab. Also, you can see where the cracks are with your naked eye once you're on the slab, once you have pressure washed it, right? That's the trick. The trick is to pressure wash the roof in order to see where the leaking is coming from and where you need to fix. Then what you can do is put on a layer of silicone on top of the roof, right? Silicone, it's painted on, right? Once you do that, you paint it on in layers. So you wash the roof, allow it to dry completely, then you paint on the silicone on top of that. If you get white, it's better for you, because that also has added benefits, because it helps to reduce the heat of the slab. So once you're able to do that, then fixing a slab roof becomes that much easier. The problem is that most time people don't understand how to fix it, right? So you have to do an inspection, see where it is leaking from, and then you move towards actually fixing it, which requires you to pressure wash it. There is another method, which is tarring. Most people tend to move towards the tar because it is readily available or it's more popular, but I personally don't like it. I don't like roofs that are tarred. It's messy, one, and two, it's when you apply tar to a surface and it heats up, it becomes it runs whenever it's heated. So, you know, possible chance of it coming on the inside, or it's just messy to me, right? The silicone base, once I wash the roof and I paint it on in layers and I allow it to sit and dry and thing, it's beautiful when it's finished. I've actually done that for somebody. They had a roof that was leaking for years. For years the roof is leaking, and I just tell them that, hey, I'm gonna come and wash it and seal it for you, as in put down a layer of put on a layer of silicone on it, and like a couple weeks after rain falling, they were looking to see if it was going to leak, and it didn't, because it's fixed, but the trick is pressure wash it before you try and fix it. Most of the time people just go up there and then start apply things and layers on top of layers, and there's a layer underneath it that is not that is preventing the thing from bonding to the roof. So you can literally go up there and peel off back the whatever you have applied, because there's a layer there, a layer of dirt or buildup or mold, and that causes a problem. So that's how you fix that. So it can go either way basically in this situation, because I would say, because it's a matter of application and how you fix it. So I'm not gonna say either of them. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it to both of them. But with that said, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a concrete roof, and 1, 2, 3 for timber roofs, right? So 5 points go to concrete roof, and 1, 2, 3 points go to no, 4 points go to timber roof. So concrete roof in this case would take it for me and our discussion, based on our discussion. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So thanks for watching this video, thanks for liking, thanks for sharing, thanks for coming and discussing with me on this one. Leave your comments below, tell me what you think. I would love to hear that. Also, I must point out that the companies that I had reached out to in relation to doing this particular video or supporting this video or this topic, they are saying that based on the time, or some of them haven't actually gotten back to me as yet still. So I take it that they are not necessarily interested in doing that particular topic. So it will be left to us to find a way to fund this particular let us say exploration. So I'm depending on you guys. Head on over to my Patreon page and donate, so that I can put together some cash to pay the quantity surveyor, so that I can wrap up this particular topic. So any donation would be greatly appreciated, and it would go towards us helping. It would go towards actually helping with paying the quantity surveyor to come up with a cost for both concrete and the timber, right? So I'll request your help in doing that. Alright, so again, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for sharing this video. And if it is that you want to utilize my service, my company's name is AJAWI Construction. You can head on over to my website, AJAWIConstruction.com, right? So you can head on over to there and book your appointments and stuff like that. So again, thank you for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for sharing, and I'll see you next time. Alright, so I'm gonna now show you the floor plan that I have come up with. Now, I didn't actually, let me rephrase that. I didn't actually come up with this one. This one was done, this floor plan was done years ago for somebody, right? When I say years, I mean donkey years ago. And I decided to just dig up that, but because I'm working on my studio project, right? And it's taking a lot out of me. I'm gonna show you my studio project as well. But it's taking a lot out of me because I have to dedicate most of my time to that. Plus, I have clients that I'm dealing with, so therefore, I have to ensure that I do the necessary things that are supposed to be done. So my technicians are working, but I still have to be checking drawings. I have to be doing my studio project, which I will show you in this video as well. And I still have other obligations that I must attend to. So, bear with me.